In April, I'll probably do $1.5 million in revenue. On profit, I will take home after all expenses, the very minimum $500,000 to $600,000 in profit. Then at that point, you can take that money and go buy whatever real estate you want, right? There's no other business I can think of that gives you such a high level of income when you're making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month in pure net profit. Canada doesn't have a middle class anymore. It's over. You are extremely very rich in Canada now, or you are poor. $100,000 salary in Canada is, in my opinion, you are poor. And the minute I quit my job, which was just a year later, the year after, I became a millionaire. So I'm telling you, like within this quick span of a year, 2 years, your life can change as long as you put the effort, as long as you grind, as long as you actually take action. Not just sit there contemplating and fantasizing and daydreaming all day long. Welcome to the Wealthbusters podcast. My name is Humza Zafar, and today we're going to be talking about exactly how I scaled my Airbnb business from $0 to $1 million a month, how I moved from Canada to the US, now live in the US, scaling my Airbnb business, making over $20 million a year. So if you have questions on exactly how I've done this and how you can do the exact same, stay tuned for the entire podcast where I give you the secrets and the details on exactly what you need to know to be exactly like me.
Hamza, thanks for coming on the podcast again. This is the second time.
Second time, this time in person.
This time in person.
In my penthouse.
In your penthouse. And where are we?
We're in Dallas, Texas.
So how long have you stayed in Dallas for?
So I actually moved here, I think officially almost 1 year ago. Yeah, February of 2023.
And where were you originally from?
Originally, as you know, I'm from Canada, just like you. Grew up in Windsor, Ontario. Then after that, I moved around in the U.S. a few places. And then I'm actually moving to New York in 3 months once my lease ends.
And so why did you just move from Windsor to Dallas? And then now you're moving to New York. What is the story?
So originally, I went to school for engineering.
Yeah,
same as you. What engineering did you study?
Mechanical.
Okay, I did electrical.
That's my brother, yeah.
Yeah. So graduated, got a job. And from my job, I had to go live in Philadelphia because we're working at the Philadelphia airport as an engineer. So I'm working there for about a whole year straight, living in hotels, flying back for 2 days. I'm staying there for 2 weeks at a time. After the first year, I got married. I told my boss, can't do this life anymore, got to quit. He said, instead of doing that, I'll just move you to Philadelphia and live there full time. So after my honeymoon, my wife and I drove from Windsor all the way to Philly and lived there for about 3 whole years. After COVID, during year 2 is when I started the Airbnb business. We started with our first unit, then our second, then our third, then our 10th and 20th, and just kept going. During that time period, we were growing the business, and I was still working that 9-to-5 job as an engineer. Then finally, once my term in Philly ended, I was moved back to the office, working in the office, commuting every single day in Detroit, Michigan, and that's when my wife and I moved and started living in Detroit, Michigan. So after that, I finally decided, all right, now I'm going to quit my job. Once I got my U.S. visa approved, it was time to basically go all in. We still lived in Michigan for a little bit, and then we decided we're going to move basically to Dallas. And basically, that's where we've been living.
Though?
So at that time, I think I had about 20 apartments in the city, and I wanted to scale to 100, and that's basically what I did. I ended up scaling all the way to 100 plus apartments over the last year, and I just wanted to enjoy the city. A lot of people were talking how great Texas is. I was tired of the cold living in Canada. I just wanted to basically try Dallas out, and I did. I've been here for almost a little bit more than a year now, and I enjoyed it. Summers are horrible here, completely horrible. But besides that, every other time minus the summer is beautiful here. But now I'm ready to move on. New adventure and, new journey.
And why New York?
So New York City, man, has always been a dream of mine, right? To always live in New York. The Big Apple. As you know, you're from Canada and I'm from Windsor, small city. Our dreams always live in big cities, and New York was on that list. Obviously, couldn't afford it back in the day. It's way too expensive. But obviously now I can. So I told my wife, before my daughter starts school and we move back to Michigan, live in the suburbs, let's live in New York and, test out the big city life.
And what's wrong with raising kids in New York?
I want to be close to family. As you know, my family lives in Windsor, so the nearest place to Windsor is obviously in Michigan.
Okay. Do you have a nanny now helping you out?
No.
No? It's just all your wife?
Yeah.
Wow, so she's like the backbone of...
Yeah, pretty much.
You, the breadwinner, and she take care of everything else?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how my relationship is. My job is to go out in the world and make millions of dollars, deal with $1 million problems and $1 million stresses. While my wife's job is to take care of the entire house and take care of the peace at home for me.
I see. And then, clearly you're running the Airbnb Arbitrage business. And we're seeing a lot of big headlines that, the big companies are going bankrupt, right? So what are the companies? Is the top three all going bankrupt? Sonder, and then what's the
Yeah,
other?
so for example, so Sonder raised like millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think they maybe have a year and a half or 2 years of runway in cash sitting in the bank right now. We're really going to see how their last quarter went in about March. That's when they'll release their quarterly earnings. So Sonder actually was burning 30 cents for every dollar that they were making. Okay, up until recently, they reduced that burn to 10 cents for every dollar. Okay, so Sonder's still alive. Front Desk, for example, just went bankrupt like a couple of days after New Year's, just 6 weeks ago. Okay, they had about 1,200 units, almost about 1,000 units, I'd say. They went fully bankrupt. Now, the reason why they went bankrupt and the reason why a lot of these other companies are going bankrupt is mainly because of the following reasons. Number one, their overhead is way too high. A lot of them aren't using VAs, or they started using VAs way too late, or they have way too many VAs. So they're not optimizing their overhead efficiently. They're paying way too much for customer service. They're paying way too much for administrative tasks that can be done by a VA overseas for $4 or $5 an hour. Why would I pay a U.S. employee healthcare taxes, payroll taxes, $60,000 salary, plus benefits, vacation, time off, sick days, all the bullshit, where I can hire a Filipino for $4 or $5 an hour instead, and they'll do a 10 times better job. Right? So that's number one. Number two is the cities that those companies really expand into are not profitable anymore. So Front Desk actually took the biggest blow because their strategy was, we're going to expand to secondary territorial markets, okay? Sonder said, no, we're going to expand to the LAs, the San Franciscos, the Bostons, the New York cities, okay? So during COVID, they actually took a big beating. Front Desk did really, really well right after COVID because of secondary cities, the Iowas, the Milwaukees, right? Those secondary territory markets did really, really well. But that demand is completely gone now. No one's traveling to those small little towns, those small little cities anymore. The travel is back to the Bostons, back to Chicago, back to LA, back to New York. So Sonder is banking money, and Front Desk basically got burned really, really badly. Their bet did not pay off. They essentially thought that demand and travel demand to the secondary markets and just keep going or stay stable. But that was only in effect because of COVID. Everybody wanted to leave the big cities and go to smaller markets. Now that everything's back to normal, nobody wants to go to small cities anymore. RevPARs are down year over year. Saturation basically hit all those markets. There's no point, in my opinion, to be in those markets. You're not making any money whatsoever. And like 80% of the portfolio was in those secondary markets. Right? So that's the second reason. The third reason why I'm pretty sure they went bankrupt was because of spending. They spent way too much in stuff that they didn't really need to. They didn't have a good control of their cash flow. Because at the end of the day, right, they're a company that had a venture backing, right? JetBlue was one of their biggest investors. And I forgot how much money they raised. I think it was like $7 million. I don't know the exact number. But when you have other people's money that's given to you, you're not that conscious, right, of what you're spending it on, right? You'll be blowing money on random things that are not needed, that really are not really driving any revenue. Every single dollar I make, it's a dollar that I keep, okay? So every single dollar I lose is a dollar that I personally lose, right? So I'm watching everything coming into the bank account and watching everything that's coming out of the bank account. Problem is when you have VC funding and you're a CEO at the end of the day and you have a bunch of employees that do not care, they think it's a party, it's a free-for-all, they don't understand it's a business first, that profit matters first, people just spend, and basically, the party goes on forever because in the VC world, money just keeps flowing. The problem is when money stops flowing and that next check isn't given to you, that's when you run out of cash and that's when you go out of business.
And since the Sonder is burning money, a little bit smarter than Front Desk. Front Desk already went bankrupt. How are you or other Airbnb arbitrage big timers are capitalizing on this opportunity?
Yeah, so they went bankrupt. They've actually announced, one of their bankruptcy lawyers emailed basically every big player in the space, and we're selling all of our furniture. I took over a bunch of their apartments they basically left behind. Furniture for free, apartments for free.
So it's just moving costs?
No, there's nothing to move. It was just literally there. We had to go in, add a few extra things, and took some new pictures. And that's basically it.
Wait, so you took over the unit?
Oh yeah, I took over the entire unit and everything. Landlords.
But I thought it's a secondary market.
So just the markets that were actually really good, I actually went for and tried to attack. Got a few yeses, and a lot of those landlords were really willing to work with me. They went ahead and just basically handed me the keys, saying, "Do what you want. Here's a month free. The furniture's for free. Take it. I don't want to deal with it, and here's the lease." And that's essentially, what happened with a lot of their portfolio. A lot of their operators just gobbled it all up, and that's the one way basically people took advantage of it. The big thing, right? The reason why my whole goal. And the things that I'm teaching my students is to not go bankrupt and how to actually make money in this business. The number one rule is you have to make money, right? You can't just expand to a city for the sake of market share. And that's what a lot of these bigger arbitrage companies were doing. They were expanding into cities for the sake of gaining market share. I don't care about that. That's irrelevant. I have to make money from every single unit. There can't be a single unit that does not make any money, right? I'm not in the business to gain market share and keep burning money for 3-5 years and then eventually I get bought up. This is not an Uber. This is not a Lyft. This is not a WeWork. It's none of that. My goal is to make profit on every single apartment. So I teach everybody how to basically optimize your cleaning, reduce your housekeeping costs, hire cleaners in-house, pricing strategy, revenue management, how to furnish your listing to make the most amount of money. Like, these are all things that you have to do to basically increase your margin, increase your revenue, get higher RevPARs, increase your ADR, and to actually make profit. Because at the end of the day, the whole goal is to make profit.
Yeah. It's like you and me, we're actually running a bootstrap business.
Correct.
We don't have a VC back, so we watch every single dollar, make sure we maximize it, people grow with us, but profit first, so you can, if it really runs to the case where you can't make money for months, you can still be okay and adjust, right? And have you ever run into any units that just not making money and you have to let it go or make adjustments and all that?
Yeah, so I actually just let go, I think, of 100 apartments in the last 6 weeks. So as you guys know, a lot of my leases are 1 to 2 years long.
Yeah, what
now
happened?
some are 3 years. So I had units that I've had since 2021, since it first started, late 2020. And I had these apartments for like a long time. And now that my portfolio has grown, right, to 400, 500 apartments almost, it's time to actually sit back and look at your portfolio and see which the loss leaders are, right? Because you have a bunch of apartments that are making a lot of money, but you have some that are not really, doing that well. And it makes no sense to keep those apartments and keep, putting your admin team, your customer service team, resources and energy towards those units. It makes no sense whatsoever. I'd rather just basically, once my lease ends, which it ended, right, before the year ended, basically told the landlords, it's not working anymore, I'm out of here, guys. So I literally ended 100 units in like 3-4 different cities. And some cities I just completely got out of completely, and basically took all that furniture and brought it all to the current cities that I'm in and used all that furniture right away for brand new cities.
Oh, so you literally have moving companies that took all the furnitures and then...
Yeah, I'll give you an example. For example, in Iowa, right? I was in Iowa. Front-Desk was in Iowa. Yeah. So I was.
Where Warren Buffett is at?
Yeah, it's in Des Moines. So I was in Des Moines, Iowa specifically.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett's actually in Nebraska, not Iowa.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I was in the same building as Front-Desk actually, right? These are great star buildings. And at the end of the day, we were making really good money right after COVID. And over the last year, apartments aren't making any money whatsoever. I think I was burning $6-7 grand a month for a year straight. No joke. For almost a year straight, I probably lost
and you have
like
100 units.
Not just in that city. I'm saying probably I had 35, right? So I'll give you an example. So as my lease ended, I basically
that's like $200K per month.
About $7 grand just for those 34 units, right? Just in that city. Per month.
So per unit you're burning?
No, total. Like all 34 units.
So that's not that bad. Okay.
Yeah, $7 grand, over the span of 12 months, I lost like, 50, 60, 70 grand, whatever.
Okay.
But the thing is like, all right, this market doesn't make sense anymore. The RevPARs are decreasing over and over again, but the furniture is still great, right?
Yeah.
There's about, it's a lot of furniture, 34 apartments for the furniture. Let's basically move it all out of here, end our lease, not renew it, and basically figure out what we can do. So I basically went to Ohio, a good market in Ohio, Columbus. I got actually 40 units. I got 3.5 months to 4 months of concessions for free, all up front. Literally paid to move all that furniture over and furnish all the units just like they were brand new, pretty much. So now I have 40 units making me money for the next 4 months with no rent to pay whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. What I did over the last literally 6 weeks is I restructured my entire portfolio. I looked at my portfolio. These 100 units are not worth it. Yeah. Cut them all out. Take all that furniture and bring them all over to Class A, higher end luxury units, and basically build a robust Class A portfolio.
Yeah, we were speaking about this Class A, Class B, Class C, and you have a strong opinion that you think Class B and Class C is outdated.
I agree.
And why do you think Class A is the way to go?
Class C and Class B apartments is how I made my money. It's how I started this business. You can make money 100% with Class C and Class B units at a small scale. As you grow, it's not sustainable. It is literally impossible. Anyone who tells you otherwise has not actually done it or experienced it. I'll give you an example. When I first expanded to Dallas, I was renting apartments for $800 a month, okay? And these are not like ugly apartments. These are pretty good apartments for $800 a month. Class B, 5 minutes from downtown. And during that time in 2021, they were making $3,000 a month, okay? Insane numbers. That was during COVID. Everything was shut down. The Texas was wide open. And as the years kept going, the rent actually was increasing. So it went from 800, then to 900, then to 1,000, then eventually to 1,200. So my rent actually increased, right, to 1,200. It's not a big deal, but my revenue was not anywhere close to 3,000. It was down to like 1,800, 1,900, maybe 2,000. So you're getting pinched essentially from both sides, where your rent's increasing and your revenue is dropping. Okay. And the thing is, when your margin is so low already, any $100 increase in rent, it takes away a huge amount, right? Just one cancellation, one maintenance request, boom, all your profit is already gone.
Crazy.
And then on top of that, the saturation for Class B and Class C is so huge, there's literally nothing you can do to make more money whatsoever. And then keep in mind, that's at a small scale. Now let's say you're at 50 units. Now you have to hire a city manager, supervisor, salaries, right? Just one person's salary of $5,000 a month, that eats a profit of like 30 apartments right there, right? Of the profit you'd be making. So at that point, it's not even worth it then to even get that many units that are Class C or Class B. Versus having Class A apartments like I do, where the rent's $3,000 a month, but you're making $6,000. You're making $7,000. So even if the rent goes up to $3,200, $33, it's not a big deal. You have so much meat on the bone where literally you're making so much money, it doesn't matter anymore. And that's literally what I've realized in this business. To really scale efficiently, and to really scale and optimize and still be profitable, you have to have units that have a lot of meat on the bone.
And why do you think Class A continue to make more money, but Class B and Class C are not?
So the barrier to entry for a Class A property is a lot higher, right? I'm spending, let's say, on a Class C property for a one bedroom, probably around $4,000, $3,500 to furnish. On a Class A property, I'm spending probably $8,000 in the same one bedroom. That's almost double the cost, right? And on top of that, getting into Class A buildings, not everyone can do, right? And then on top of that, the amount of Class A buildings in a certain area is also a lot lower as well. Right, there's only a few amount of Class A luxury high-rise buildings that have a sauna, a pool, a jacuzzi, a hot tub, a gym, and all these other amenities. Right, very small amount of those buildings in a lot of cities. So this because of this limited amount of supply there is, and the barrier to entry so high, right? That means the amount of total inventory in a market is very low, but the amount of people that have money does not change. Right. So that is really what I'm focusing on right now, is basically taking my entire portfolio and basically making it a Class A high-end Airbnb portfolio.
It's crazy. Do you think because Class A continue to work is because the rich continue to be richer?
Correct. And that's another thing as well. When people, so the majority of people that stay in Class B properties are broke people, okay? When economic times get hard, broke people do not travel whatsoever. But when economic times are hard, rich people don't care. Rich people are still traveling, and they do not want to stay in Class B properties, right? So you are never going to stay in a Class B property. I will never stay in a Class B property. We are only going to, even in bad times, only book Class A properties because the psychological factor of at that level of wealth, you cannot go lower than what your standard is, right? The people who have money will never settle for anything less than what they're used to. So Class A properties, even in bad times, still keep getting booked because the people who have money aren't affected or they don't really care.
Do you think it's because the expense of going up because of all the inflation and all that, but the money that they're making or the wealth they had built is so much, there's so big of a margin that it doesn't really matter. Even if expense goes up a little bit, they don't feel it. Right?
Yeah, it really depends, right? Everyone's financial situation is different. Travel, is one thing that's like at certain levels of wealth is really minimal, right? Whether you're staying in a hotel or staying in a villa, flying private, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a different level of what they're comfortable with. Travel, whether you're booking an Airbnb, the difference is maybe a couple $100. It's really nothing in the grand scheme of things for the majority of people.
That's crazy. So, I always have this question about Airbnb arbitrage. Is that I was looking at it. I've always personally so thinking about this is that you're running a mini hotel business. So you don't really own any equity, right? And U.S., real estate investing, it's so lucrative because of all the tax deferral, all the depreciation, all the write-off and all that, and the appreciation because you own an asset. But when you do Airbnb arbitrage, you don't have much of that.
Correct. You have literally no assets whatsoever. This business is for building huge amounts of cash flow. I'll give you an example. In April, I'll probably do $1.5 million in revenue. Revenue. On profit, I will take home after all expenses, the very minimum $500,000 to $600,000 in profit. Then at that point, you can take that money and go buy whatever real estate you want, right? Because as Dave Ramsey says, you have a big shovel, you can use that shovel, that income to go buy literally whatever your heart desires. You can start go buying houses, buying buildings, buying literally whatever real estate asset you have. But the arbitrage business allowed me to have such a high level of income. It gives me all those options.
Yeah.
There's no other business I can think of that gives you such a high level of income when you're making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month in pure net profit.
For me personally, I always struggle with running a business, and that could shift because of all the regulation, all the headwinds. I'm not building any equity, and there's not a lot of tax efficiency in terms of this strategy. So I was wondering, how are you spending the money that you make in the Airbnb arbitrage business and all that fast money? And how are you capitalizing? What are you doing with those money? Do you go?
Yeah, so right now I'm in growth mode where every dollar I've made, I've literally put back into the business and grown and grown and grown. That's the only way I've been able to get from 0 units, right, at the beginning of 2021 to almost 500 now to the beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
Right? Because I literally have been growing the business with the profits and keep growing, keep growing, keep growing.
Yeah.
Now, this is my year where I'm not going to basically do the same growth again. I went from 200 units last year to almost 400 units this year. Pretty much doubled in size. This year, I'm probably only going to do 100. And after that, I'm going to relax. I'm going to calm down and actually start building some cash now, building some reserves, and start buying real estate. Because now that I'll be making $400,000 or $500,000 a month in profit, I can start buying basically one house every month in full cash, right? And that's essentially the goal. It's like now my business is at 500 units almost, doing $500,000 a month in profit, $400,000 a month in profit. I have so much options available to me that now it's time for a different strategy on what I call asset accumulation, where I'm actually taking the active income that I have and using it, and there's a lot of it, right, to actually start buying long-term assets. And those long-term assets are also Airbnbs as well that will also be cash flowing, but instead of, I'm not paying any rent, it's, just full on, cash flow.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. So your fast money is fast money, but your asset accumulation, you're still going to buy properties and it's still going to continue to Airbnb it out.
Correct. I actually just bought one recently in all cash. I bought a house, single family home for $400 in Dallas, for 400. I'll tell you after. For $425K. I bought for $425. I spent $25K to furnish it, and it's making about $6,000 every single month on Airbnb, $7K, and that's really good. And in terms of numbers, right, way better than the 1% rule.
Yeah.
And I only bought it for $425K in cash, right? So I can start buying basically one house every single month at this point and start, building that entire portfolio while at the same time taking the profits and expanding the arbitrage business itself.
Hey Wealthbusters, I just want to put on a side note, I do not run any ads on this channel. So if you enjoyed the video up until this part, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a few friends that can benefit from this. And let's get right back into the episode. So I just finished up a full day tour with PadSplit. So have you heard about PadSplit?
So we're renting our rooms?
Yeah, it's kind of like a student rental, but instead of renting out to student, you're renting out to Class B, Class C people, traveling nurses, blue collar that cannot find a place or just moving around a lot and want a cheaper place. They just need a room. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, that's essentially how it started originally in the beginning. I had a house in Windsor, Ontario, and I was doing student rentals, right? I think the total, it was about $3,600 a month. Yeah. Each room was making $600 a month. If I were to rent it out to an entire family, it would make $1,400 a month, right? So student rentals, after Airbnb, student rentals is the best asset class or best business model to make, that much high cash flow. Airbnb obviously is first, but after that, nothing comes close except student rentals. So I get that whole premise. I get the whole business model. I just don't know about anything outside the student realm where it's that less, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? That less beneficial. Like, why not just stick to just doing students where it's guaranteed no matter what happens, you're not worried about any other issues happening.
Yeah, like PadSplit is like focusing on, like I said, Class B, Class C, and the funny things that I heard, their average stay is about 8 months.
Yeah.
So they rent per room, they take out all the common area, and basically they screen them based on their software, credit score, and all that stuff. It's like, hey, if you effed up, you'll never be able to rent on our platform anymore. So that's like, they have a different layers of, screening people like Airbnb, right? How do you screen people at Airbnb? Yeah,
we use Enzo Connect or AutoHost.ai, takes a picture. They have to send us a picture of themselves with a selfie with their driver's license. Yeah. Then AutoHost runs a background check, and that's basically it.
Oh, really? You do that?
Yeah.
Not just based on reviews?
No, reviews also matter too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, wow. I didn't know you guys have that.
Like my thing is, like I honestly stay away from anything Class C and Class B.
Yeah.
I realized something in business is that when you solve problems for poor people, you don't really make that much money. When you solve problems from rich people, you make a lot of money because the last thing they focus on is money. The first thing they focus on is quality or convenience or speed. If you can solve those things, you can charge whatever price you want. That's where you make insane amounts of money. When you're solving problems for poor people, you're not going to make that much money, and that's what I've learned in every business I see around me.
Yeah, you need the volume, right? And then like a lot of people say invest in Class B, Class C, you make more cash flow, but you have more problem and different type of problems.
Yeah, different problems, different headaches, different
unreasonable
things,
right?
different problems, different headaches, different types of people that you're dealing with. Of course, we hate dealing with poor people, right? We don't want poor people to book any of our Airbnbs because those are the ones that basically cause the most problems. Trash the unit more, don't take care of it. Rich people that book our Airbnbs literally are there. You don't even notice they're there. They do their thing. They go home. They're there for work, business, whatever it is, and that's it. You never hear from them. It's always the poor people that are always causing the most problems.
Yeah. Do you think there's like a niche for your Airbnb is Class A, my Airbnb is Class A, the Class B and C Airbnb are going to get washed out, and the PadSplit is going to go start serving those people that couldn't really afford to rent the whole house, but they still want to be more mobile and all that? Then
yeah, of course, there's a market. There's a market for everybody, right? It just depends on is it worth it for you to actually enter that market and see what piece you can basically take from it. Me personally, my philosophy is now, any business I ever start, I will only be solving problems for rich people. That's it. Because those people will pay any dollar amount because all they care about is results or the quality of the product or the speed. They don't care about, price.
Yeah.
And I've done that for my Airbnb business, I've done that for my coaching business, I've done that for every business, solving problems for rich people and only working with rich people.
Yeah. No, I agree on that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm totally on the same point with that. So, tell us about your most recent furnishing of spending $150,000 furnishing 27 units.
Yeah.
And then you were hiring some cheap labor. It's like, what is the story for that?
So I posted a video on Instagram. As you guys know, I'm very active on Instagram. Posted a video of my team furnishing 27 apartments. Spent $150,000 to furnish those 27 Airbnbs. And in the video, I put a caption saying I hired these hermanos for $5 an hour. Yeah. Because I posted that, the video got 200,000 views. I got lots of hate, lots of comments. Also gained 10,000 followers because of that one video, right? So I do things like that in my videos, which is actually not true. I pay them $20 an hour, not $5 an hour, right? Yeah. I'm not a slave master, okay? So when you do
people call you that?
On the all the time. I get death threats. People are saying I'm evil, I'm a capitalist, I'm a horrible person. People are retarded. Like no one's working for $5 an hour, right? Yeah. It's to basically get those people angry, and that basically makes the algorithm think there's more engagement, and the cycle continues, and I get more followers, get more engagement, get more eyes on me. And that's basically how I've grown my Instagram to, so big as it is. But yeah, in reality, I pay people, $20 an hour, $18 an hour, and they make really good money. We do a lot of good work together.
Yeah, it's a very funny thing because the minimum wage in U.S., do you know what that is?
$7 an hour. Yeah. $7.10 actually.
Yeah. And in Canada, it's what, double of that?
Canada, I think Trudeau or Doug Ford, whoever it is, just raised it to, I think, $16.15 now. So if you work at Tim Hortons, you're making almost $16 an hour now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big difference, right? Canada
doesn't have a middle class anymore. It's over. You are extremely very rich in Canada now, or you are poor. $100,000 salary in Canada, in my opinion, you are poor. Yeah. You can't do anything. You are genuinely poor.
Yeah.
There's no middle class in Canada anymore. It's completely gone.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. And you're like showing on Instagram about an image that you were at the end of 2020, how much money you were making, how much rent you were paying, and then the end of 2023, how much you were making and how much you were paying. Like, why do you put that?
Because it gives people perspective on how fast things can change in just a short amount of time, right? I'm telling you, my life changed very, very fast from right when I started this business to a year later. And the minute I quit my job, which was just a year later, the year after, I became a millionaire. So I'm telling you, like within a quick span of a year, 2 years, your life can change as long as you put the effort, as long as you grind, as long as you actually take action. Not just sit there contemplating and fantasizing and daydreaming all day long.
Solid. This is another one that I personally, because I have Airbnb units, and I found that very interesting when you say you charge people $3,000 if they're going to host a party.
Yeah.
Now, before you answer that, we have requests come in of a wedding before.
All right.
And we asked them how many people. They said 40 people. And I told them, yeah, 10K. And of course, they didn't go for it. I'd like to get your standpoint on why you charge people $3K if they want to host a big party.
No, so I don't charge anything to host a party because no parties are allowed at any of my properties.
Yeah.
That $3,000 is there to basically scare you from even trying to throw a party in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not actually charging $2,000 because I don't have parties thrown in my places at all whatsoever. Yeah. I have so much screening involved in place that I can't even talk about, where I literally prevent people from throwing a party, causing trouble, causing problems. Because in this business, it's not about how many units you can get, it's about how many units you can stay in. A lot of people start arbitrage, but they get kicked out of their building when their lease ends because they had parties going on, they're not controlling their guests, and the building hates them, the owners hate them, and the residents hate them. That's something you cannot have. To stay in this business long term, because it's a long game, right? Think in decades, not in a year, not in a month, think in decades. To stay in this business, you have to make sure your residents are happy, the building owner is happy, you have no parties, you have a welcome atmosphere for all your guests. So I basically do whatever I can to make sure I kick all the bad people out from even booking a single one of my properties in the first place.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you don't even allow any party, no matter
nothing,
amount they can
nothing.
pay you.
I have nothing, not a single dollar.
Yeah, I've heard other Airbnb arbitrage big timers that because of one single party in the first month, they have to move all the furniture from the 20 units.
Oh yeah, it happens.
You're out.
Yep, 100%. It happens.
And that's a lot of money.
Dude, the lease means nothing at the end of the day, right? If you have 20 units and you have a crazy party being thrown on your property and you have it being thrown, multiple times, owners will be like, yo, pack our shit and get out of here. It's not worth it anymore for him, right?
Yeah.
And you're screwed at that point. You don't really know how to run a business, right?
Yeah.
Especially in like urban markets, like I'm in markets like Detroit, Philadelphia, right? They're rough markets. The crowd there is crazy. The people come in from Camden, New Jersey, Trenton, right? These people are insane. Like I'm telling you, bro, the stories I could tell you that happens in Philly, you wouldn't believe me.
Tell me one story.
Regardless, though, what happens is a lot of those people in that city, they are not hosting there after their first few months because they get kicked out because of all the parties that end up happening. Yeah. I'm telling you, I have systems in place where we catch that shit from happening even before they even book with us, before they can even get a single door code. I make sure that it's not even a chance of even happening in the first place.
That's actually really smart, I think. Just know what really works well for you. Keep the risk low, maintenance low, and keep the landlord happy and the neighbors happy, right? I think that's really smart. This is a funny one. So I saw a short on your Instagram about how you quit your 9-to-5 job and you actually call your boss. I haven't watched it, but I want to hear from you live. What was that call about?
So the whole reason why I quit my 9-to-5 is mainly because I just hated my boss, dude. Okay?
So you hated your boss?
Correct.
Okay.
He was an old, 40, 50-year-old Asian guy, and it's not his fault. He's just old, He's a boomer, and just for him, 9-to-5 corporate slavery was all he knew, right? And it got to the point I'm like, yo, this guy's on my ass 24/7. I have to make this business work. I have to get out of this. I can't do this anymore, right? So ask any of my friends that were around me during that time period. I was miserable, dude. Every day, driving home from work an hour. I literally wanted to go in the opposite lane, dude. That's how badly I literally hated my job, dude. One day, I actually, I told myself, I was sitting there at lunch. I'm like, you know what? For the rest of the day today, I'm actually going to put effort in. I'm actually going to work as if I'm a good employee. And for those 6 hours after lunch, I actually worked so hard, nonstop for 6 hours straight. And at 5 o'clock, when it was time to go home, I literally realized, I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm literally broke. This is literally pointless. And after that, I'm like, all right, I need to go all into this business and literally scale this to $1 million a month.
That's crazy. That's great. So how did you tell your boss?
I just called him saying, hey, man, I'm going to be quitting. It's like, why? Why are you quitting? I told him pretty much, I'm going to work on my business. And he's like, all right, cool.
What did your boss say?
He was like, all right, cool. See you later.
Really?
That's it.
He said, all right, cool. He didn't try to stop you?
No. Bro, I wasn't the best employee, bro. they weren't losing to LeBron James or anything,
You're like, thank God this guy is gone. I don't have to pay
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So, you recently traveled to Dubai.
Yeah, I just came back 2 weeks ago.
And other Middle Eastern countries. So Dubai, Turkey.
And Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. We see a lot of very flashy stuff coming from Saudi Arabia. Everyone thinks that people there are rich, And what is your take on that?
Yeah, so it really depends where you go, right? Because I unfortunately live in a bubble. So when I go to Dubai, I'm pretty much in a bubble. I only see other people who are very, very rich, right?
Yeah.
We're staying at the Ritz-Carlton or you're staying at the St. Regis or the Fountain Hotel or anything like that, or you're staying near Dubai Mall. All you're seeing is rich people, right? If you go to old Dubai, everybody there is poor. Everybody there is from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Philippines, Indonesia, and they're basically there to work. And they're the migrants who are there to basically work on work visas. So that's the poor part of Dubai. You don't see that though, right? So when I go there, I'm unfortunately in a bubble, and all I see is other rich people around me. So if you want to go to Dubai and you want to just stay in that bubble, that's good for you, no problem. But that's not the whole city, right? There's parts to it.
Would you raise your kids in Dubai?
Honestly, I thought about it. The one thing I love about Dubai is that it's a Muslim country. So for me, that's a great thing. Number two is there's no homeless people, no crackheads on the street, right? You're not the risk of getting shanked or stabbed everywhere you go, right? And there's some peace to that as well. But it gets to a point because I grew up, pretty much across from Detroit my whole life. I lived in Philadelphia for 3 years, lived in South Philly, and now moving to New York. I sort of enjoy the chaos. It was really weird to sound. I genuinely enjoy walking outside. You never know what's going to happen. At any moment, anything can go wrong. I genuinely enjoy the chaos a little bit. Dubai, in my opinion, is a little too safe, which is great for kids and raising a family. But me personally, there's no excitement when I walk downstairs or I'm out on the street. Because in America, New York, or anywhere you live, anything can happen, right? It's a constant rush of, adrenaline 24/7. Dubai, everyone's rich. There's Lambos everywhere, Rolls Royces everywhere, and you're not there's no adrenaline pumping in your head every single time you walk outside. It's really weird to say it, which is sort of what I like.
Is that real wealth, or I remember you mentioned that there are people with one Lambo, and 8 people take turns.
That's how it is in LA. That's how it is in Miami. So, for example, 7 friends, they all split on the monthly payment for a Urus, and then each person will get a designated day to basically take the Urus out. That's literally how people do it in LA. Yeah, take the girlfriend out. That's how people do it in LA. That's how they do it in Miami. That's how they do it in so many big cities. You don't really know. Majority of people are not actually rich. I'm telling you right now. They don't actually have money.
Yeah.
If they just they lease these certain things. They share with other people. They borrow for a little bit of time. They post on the gram to make it seem like they're rich, but they're actually not. A lot of people that you think are rich are very broke.
Interesting. That's hilarious. So when you were in Dubai, did you chat with other Airbnb hosts?
Oh, yeah. I talked to a lot of Airbnb hosts.
How's the business running there compared to North America? Do you think there's more opportunity there or none?
Yeah, so Dubai is a great market. Sonder actually has a 400-unit building in the Business Bay. They're making a lot of money. One of the Airbnb hosts I talked to 3 or 4 of them, his average profit just for last month was $4,000 a unit. Wow. That's a lot. His rent was $4,000 a month. His revenue was $10,000 a month.
Wow.
Right? But keep in mind, last month, January, highest month of the entire year. And they all just started a few months ago. So they don't actually know how slow season is. So I'm very curious to see what their overall profit will be over a 12-month period. But also the problem with Dubai is the startup costs are insane. No matter what you do, no matter what you rent, you have to pay a realtor a 1-month commission, no matter what. Okay? Then on top of that, you can't pay rent monthly. You have to pay rent a year at a time or 3 months at a time, all up front. No option whatsoever.
Just like international students.
Essentially, yes, exactly like that.
International students.
Pretty much, that's how international students do it. So I'm like, man, if I have to pay 3 months of rent up front, I get 3 months concessions. You don't even get concessions in Dubai. You have to pay 3 months of rent up front, then pay a month of commission to the agent, right? And on top of that, the cost of furniture does cost more there too. So you're spending probably $20,000 to furnish that 2.5 or 3-bedroom apartment versus maybe $12K or $10K in America. So it's the startup costs are a lot. You do end up making more money, but your rate of growth is a lot slower because there's so much more capital that you have to keep investing over and over again.
And do you think that higher barrier of entry actually fits into your...
You'd be surprised. Almost every landlord in Dubai says yes to Airbnb. They have no objections whatsoever. You can literally go, literally there's agencies or agents and realtor companies in Dubai that will literally help you get Airbnb arbitrage units, and they'll charge the 1-month commission. Almost every landlord is cool with Airbnb in Dubai. They have no problem whatsoever.
So why do you think are not more people, why are you not doing it there? I know there's a high barrier of entry, but
I just don't have it's about mental bandwidth and capacity, right? Let's say tomorrow, if somebody offers me 40 apartments in Dallas, I can sit in my penthouse on my phone, send 3 text messages, And within 2 weeks, everything will be done from A to Z, from literally ordering furniture, designing the units, delivery of the furniture, build all the furniture, get everything staged, all photos taken, listings uploaded live on Airbnb. I have to send 3 text messages. I cannot do that in Dubai. I have to fly there myself, hire a team, stay there for a month or 2, build out all the systems from ground up. Like, it's a whole process, and I have 0 time to do any of that right now.
Yeah. And I think focus is a big thing that
Correct. Focus is big.
Often don't talk about, and going focus and going deep. So I know you have the team set up in Dallas, but now you're going to New York. We could take a little bit shift of it. Are you going to do stuff there? Because New
York is pretty much impossible to do in here.
So why do you move to New York? It's not going to help you grow.
It'll help me grow mentally. So I've talked to some people in New York, and like a lot of people that I've met generally in my life.
Yeah.
And I've seen like the way they operate, or just the knowledge level they have, is way higher than anybody else around me in my business, or even generally in business. And they'd tell me, they're like, dude, you're paying $15,000 a month for your penthouse in Dallas, which is great. People pay that, for their private school tuition for their kids. They're paying $30,000, $40,000 a month, $50,000 a month in rent, right, near Central Park. So like the level of wealth in New York is a lot higher. The people there are hustling even more. Right, the access you have to information for certain things is a lot higher as well, right? That's one of the financial wealth capitals of the world. So it's like the people you'll meet there, and who are working in private equity, who are working in venture capital, who are working in finance, just the amount of information that you will gain being in that network, you will not find anywhere else. And I told myself, all right, for me to level up now to the next level, because let's say I'll make $20 million this year. If I want to get to $100 million, I have to move to New York City.
So you don't know what you're stepping yourself into?
I have no idea.
You have been to an unknown, and that's usually what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know until you get into it and you figure it out.
Correct.
But there's a bigger players there.
Yeah.
And you will figure it out.
That's pretty much the goal. That's what I've been doing since I started.
Yeah. Could you become end up becoming, I don't know, a private equity manager or something?
I don't know, man. I didn't go to Warren Business School for that, but we'll see.
That's funny.
I don't want to be manager, bro. I quit my job for a reason, right?
So, if someone were to start the Airbnb arbitrage business in 2024, and you have done this from 2020 to now, how would you do things differently in 2024? Let's say I'm a guy. I want to start applying for a business credit of 30K or 100K. How do I start again if I'm just freshly started this business? I have good credit, but I don't have much money, and then I just join your program, and what do I do?
So this is basically what I guide all my students to do, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're starting with me fresh. The number one thing is you have to make sure your very first unit is very profitable. The reason is because then you can use that profit to get more units and more units. If you get your first unit, it's not profitable whatsoever, that means you've just sunk more of your own capital into the business to get your second unit to start making profit. But in my opinion, it's not worth it at that point. You want to start building your business from the profits of your very first unit. So I basically help you to basically figure out what the best cities, the best locations, the best areas are to start your Airbnb business. Once we nail that down, then we figure out what's the best unit size, whether it's houses, whether it's apartments. Is it a 3-bed? Is it a 5-bed or a 2-bed? Then after that, we started looking at some comps. We started looking at building A versus building B. Is building C better than building A? Then we started looking at rents. And then we started negotiating with landlords. Try to get 1 month free, 2 months free, even 3 months free of rent concession up front. Then we started designing the unit, how to optimize every single square foot. My interior designers help you design the entire space from ground up. And then after that, order all the furniture. To order the furniture, we put it all on business credit cards. The best banks to apply with, how to build your business credit, to get as much credit cards as you possibly can, or 0% APR. That way you don't have to pay any payments for the next 1 year. Then once that's done, we look at your price labs, create your listing. I work on your pricing strategy, your revenue management. Everything from literally A to Z is basically done for you. And then you go live and start actually making money. And I'm basically here to hold your hand along the entire process. Then finally start taking that profit and your second unit, your third unit, your fourth unit, and so on.
So can we go into a little bit more details on each of the steps?
Yeah.
So the first step, you said, it's kind of like taking a micro, high-level view. It's kind of like a microeconomics, right? Pick out the cities or the county or the state. Do you have top 3, without giving your secrets on that? What's your top 3 states?
So the first thing I always ask students who join My program is where do you live? Because the best place to start is literally where you live, because your costs are very, very low. You can drive everywhere, and you're there in case anything does happen. You can go take care of it right away. So wherever you live, I tell people always start there. But let's say you live in New York City, or you live in LA, or you live in San Francisco, places where you can't really do Airbnb, the next best place is any other places that you have ties to or you've experienced with, or that are within driving distance. So majority of people that do live in New York end up starting in Philly or Pittsburgh or New Jersey, Jersey City, Newark, Connecticut, places that are driving distance that are nearby, right? And then from there, we start looking at the RevPARs in different zip codes, start looking at if they're decreasing or they're flatlining, start looking at supply in certain zip codes, figure out is this market saturated versus that market, what actually is the cost that's making the most money, how can we copy it, and then we go from there.
So that's the first step. What was the second step?
So then after that, when that part's done, now it's time to actually negotiate with these landlords. Start, negotiating for months free, basically Airbnb, trying to basically, spend the least amount of capital up front. And then, using my scripts, using the tips I provide, basically figure out how we can leverage that and, get as much concession as we possibly can.
And then after that is getting the business credit card. So people want value here. What are the top 3 business credit card that you think people can get the most credit and the 0% APR at this moment right now?
So right now, I have probably almost $200,000 in 0% business credit cards that I have 9 months left on. So the first one's going to be your Chase Freedom card.
Chase Freedom.
Then it's going to be your American Express Blue.
American Express Blue.
Yep. And then your last one is another Chase card. It's called the Chase Inc. Unlimited. So these all 3 cards are all 0%, no interest, no payments, or very like $10 a month payments, very minimal, for basically 12 to 15 months. So 0% APR, 12, 15 months, and literally the first card I got was $50,000, second card was $100,000, and the third card was like $40,000.
And does that work on Canadians?
So I'm Canadian, as you know, but I've been building my credit for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
My brother, who just started Airbnb a few months ago, he applied for the same credit card, and he only got $20,000 or $30,000. That's it, because he's brand new to the country. But I've been here for almost 4 years now, so I've spent some time building that credit up.
So does your brother also have a visa like you?
Correct. Yeah.
He also has a working visa.
Yeah.
So it's not like an investing visa. So it has
no. So he actually was working his job at Ford as a 9-to-5 engineer.
Okay.
He has 20 units right now. Okay. He's doing about 65, 70K a month, but he still hasn't quit his job yet. He's waiting for the investor visa to come in. The investor visa just came in 3 weeks ago.
E2?
E2 just came in 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So now he's waiting basically a month or two. He's going to finally quit his 9-to-5 and just basically, work on the business full time.
Why does he need an E2 to do this business? So he can stay in U.S. long term?
Chris, yeah, he wants to live in America, yeah.
So it's not so hard for him because he already worked in the U.S. before. He already have an SSN.
Yeah.
He already have an SSN.
Correct.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. But for people like me, the Canadians, we don't even have
impossible.
ITIN.
It's literally impossible.
Impossible to get business
literally
credit.
Impossible in America.
We have to start from ground up.
You have to start from scratch. You can't just walk into a bank right now and get $100,000. It's impossible.
So sure, for people that Claudia and I are going through this, we're setting up the structures. I literally have to walk into, set up the structure, go into a Chase bank, and then get my ITIN. And I was hoping that I can tie up my Canadian cross-border credit card with Royal Bank of Canada.
They don't care.
I heard they don't care.
They do not care. They could care less.
You have to start all over.
Start from scratch.
Yeah. And then I've been told I have to drive into the Chase Bank, sit there, sign everything, and get a $500, and you put a
secured credit card. Yep, that's exactly how it is. That's what I did. When I first came to America, I couldn't get a credit card. So I had to go to Discover, give them $1,000, and then I get a secured $1,000 credit card. That's literally how it is. And I used that for 6 months, and then finally started building my credit, and they gave me $1,000 back, and started applying for more credit cards, and over again. I have almost $1 million now in business credit cards because I basically, the long process. But as an American, dude, I can get a homeless guy off the street, bro, and you can get 30, 40K from Chase, no problem. It is insane, I know.
Okay. So business credit, U.S. people, you guys got the top 3 cards, 200K right there. Canadians, good luck. You're like me, build it from ground up. Maybe in 6 months, 1 year.
Yeah, Canadians just got to apply for more serve, man. Use that money. And you apply for more serve. Oh, bro, there's always something going on, dude. The Canadian government's always giving away free money for something. Use that money and start your business.
Okay. And after the business credit, what's the next step?
And now it's time to actually start furnishing. So my interior designers will basically help you.
How much are you charging?
For what?
Like interior design?
Oh no, it's free. For my mentorship students,
okay.
we do everything for you. Like you pretty much send us 2D floor plans.
Unit?
Well, if you have a 100-unit deal, then you're going to need a lot more help than just one interior designer. Usually people don't start off with 100 units right away for their first deal.
So what do you do then? Do you have your interior designer kind of cookie cutter everything?
It really depends on the property, right? Because you have 5 units, they're always going to be almost the exact same. We don't make 5 separate units for you. So my interior designer will go, give us a 2D floor plan, we'll create 3D renderings, the exact furniture sheet, we'll make the carts for you, where to buy everything, and we'll make sure it fits your budget, and pretty much design everything from the ground up.
Wow. And that's all included in your
That's all
program.
included, yeah, for free.
Cool. That's pretty cool. And then after that furnishing, then what?
After the property, it gets furnished, you have the furniture builder build everything, photos get taken, then it's time to actually list your listing on Airbnb. Once your listing's listed, now the hard part is to actually work on the pricing strategy and the revenue management, where I personally and my team, we hop on, we can do price labs and do the entire pricing strategy for you. Set up your entire price labs for you from ground up.
That's very, very cool. So, tell us more about, I know you just newly renovate, or what is it, renovate? You just basically redesign your whole coaching program.
Yeah.
And you just launched it about a month ago.
Yep.
Tell us, how's that different than the old coaching program? I know you have a track for US people, a track for Canadian. Why do you build 2?
Yeah, so 2023, I did total in coaching, total in online course sales, about $3 million. My take home on that was about $2 million. It's about $1 million in overhead, okay? But then I realized something, okay? When you're solving problems for poor people, they complain more than rich people. So I'm like, all right, instead of basically giving away my coaching, for $2,000, $3,000, I'm just going to basically charge the most premium price that I can because I'm the best in the industry. Nobody else has scaled their arbitrage business to 0 to 400 units in 3 years who's doing over $1 million a month. The stuff that I've learned will save you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes or just speed up your timeline by 2-3 years. Okay? So I basically started charging $20,000 a person. Right? And then in my lowest ticket tier is $5,000 a person. The $20,000 is that one-on-one mentorship where basically I sell like 80% of my entire revenue from. The $5,000 program is literally amazing, has everything you need. It's just you and me are not working directly one-on-one with each other. And there's a lot of less done for you services. It's a lot more done with you. But with that $20,000 purchase, which I sell a lot of, those people already have a lot of money, they're already in real estate, and they just want my help to basically hold their hand through the entire process from A to Z, get their first property, get up and running, start profiting, and start scaling as quick as possible. Some of my mentorship students now almost have 70 units. Though remember Kevin you met in Miami? He just closed 30 units, the other Asian guy. Yeah, he just closed 30 units. In Phoenix, he's at 70 units now. And he just started 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? So I have a lot of those mentorship students that don't want a side hustle. They want this to be a business that makes them $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month, where they want to start making millions of dollars a year. That's the people who basically join my mentorship.
And what is so special about Kevin that make him successful?
It's not just him. There's literally, I kid you not, I think I have at least 50 people that are doing over $100,000 a month right now.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So what are those people are doing that others are not to make them?
They're just not lazy, dude, at the end of the day, right? Majority, and I've actually talked to a lot of my mentorship students, the majority of the ones that make the most money that are really, really quick are immigrants. Believe it or not, they're the ones who are like, boom, 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 let's go, let's start making money quick. Yeah. And that's just how it is in reality. I'm not saying the other ones don't, but the immigrant ones, they just are very, very quick and just start, picking things up really quickly and start scaling really, really fast.
Yeah. No, that's really cool to hear. Is there anything else you want to add that I forgot to ask?
Honestly, you covered a lot, to be honest. I really enjoyed the podcast. And you guys really, really good questions, covering many different topics. And I really enjoyed you coming over to my penthouse and hanging out with me and just talking. And hopefully we can do this again when I move to New York in 3 months. Yeah, we'll probably do it in New York. And then when we do it the next time, you already kind of experience New York. Yeah. As someone who lived here and not visiting. Yep. You can bring me to cooler places. Let me know if you like New York. I will, 100%. Well, thanks for coming on. Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy. If you're watching until this point, make sure you like and subscribe, and we have more episodes like this waiting for you, so stay tuned. And if you don't mind, give us a 5-star review so more people like yourself can enjoy episodes like this.